Hey everyone, my name is Kaylee Townsend, and this is my presentation about the impacts of social media on human trafficking. To start with my research question, I was wondering what the effects of increasing technology were on human trafficking. And as I went more in depth with my research, this changed a little bit, and I started to focus more on why this is a human rights violation and what rights were being violated. And that led me to my thesis statement. The first part of my thesis statement talks about how social media is being used as a tool from traffickers to recruit and exploit their victims. And then I move into the specific rights that are being violated. And those are a person is getting pushed into a life of slavery, cruel treatment, and inequality, which violates 3 of the rights in the Universal Declaration. And then in my overview, I'm going to go a little deeper into those 3. So to start off with slavery. Slavery is still very prevalent in our world today. It's not something we see as often because it's not right in front of our face. But if you look at the core of trafficking, it is slavery. Slavery is having control over another person, and that's what traffickers' whole goal is to have the control. And when they're having that control, they will use any means necessary. They will verbally, mentally, or physically abuse their victim. They will manipulate them and blackmail them. And with social media, they'll threaten to disclose private and sensitive information on social media if that person does not commit actions that they tell them to. Lastly, inequality. Inequality isn't something we really focus on right away with trafficking, but digging deeper, you can see that there are certain people groups that are more targeted over others. The Polaris statistic, Polaris is a really big organization that fights human trafficking, showed how 86% of trafficked people are female, while 12% are male. So you can see that there are very big inequalities among different people groups, and in this case, females are a more targeted group than males. A counter-argument for this is that people who are unaware of the intensity of trafficking have a false sense of hope that the law enforcement has this all covered and that they don't need to worry about it and don't need to be a part of it. There are some law enforcement agencies and some companies that have found a couple ways that can help prevent human trafficking virtually, and they have put some perpetrators away. However, the system is not something that's constantly updated and constantly worked on. And there's not a law specifically about social media trafficking. There's not a law saying this person cannot create a social media account or cannot contact people online. And so everyone needs to just be aware and have proper online cautions, which leads to my solutions. One of the solutions I discovered was that technology is used to actually spread awareness. And there are big campaigns, especially in Denmark. They had a really big campaign that talked about online trafficking and physical trafficking and spread awareness. And they provided a lot of support group connections for people who had been in trafficking or were a victim of trafficking. And a following one is that there are companies that have provided students and parents with courses that explain trafficking, explain what online trafficking looks like, and they're just trying to encourage younger kids to not just fall on their knees for somebody and not to fall for the tricks that traffickers put out. Lastly, this is the one I stand behind, and it's that everyone can play a role in spreading awareness while law enforcement, schools, and social media companies seek out the best ways to stop traffickers. This is very viable. It's having everyone play a role because everyone has a different unique role in society, so everyone can help and be a part of this, while those big companies and law enforcement can find different ways to assemble teams to promote anti-trafficking programs and do whatever they can to help prevent this from happening. My call to action is very similar to the solution I stand behind, and that is that everyone needs to use what role they have in society to help prevent trafficking and spread awareness of trafficking, while those big companies can institute teams that create online anti-trafficking programs and focus on looking at social media and what needs to change to prevent online trafficking. On a lighter note, my rhetorical situation starts with the author, which is me, but something like this can be written by anybody who is concerned and wants to help spread awareness of trafficking. the audience is everyone, as my call to action includes everyone, the audience is everyone. The message I'm trying to send is that the increasing technology has played a huge role in trafficking and that something needs to change, and our generation's the one that is going to be able to make those changes. My purpose is not only to explain the problem, but to provide adequate solution methods and things that'll help to prevent trafficking from happening. And this context is just any virtual means of trafficking and the increasing dangers that come with that. Trafficking is in all areas. It's not just virtual. There are tons of ways that traffickers will meet in person with people and have trafficking happen that way, but this is specifically focused on virtual means of trafficking. My reflection. So for something that I would approach differently the next time is I would have spent more time in the pre-routing process and filling out better note cards. I did not want to do note cards. I thought they were too much work and I didn't want to do them. And then as I started doing them and getting more into them, I realized they are so helpful and so important. And something that I was most proud of was my outline. I had so much information on it that when I was in the drafting process, it was so easy to get my drafts, and I was just really proud of how much information I had ready for my actual writing. One of the most challenging moments, I'd say, was coming up with a counter argument. This is not a topic where someone is directly against it, saying, yes, we need to have trafficking. So I had to look more in depth in the situation of trafficking and what people are arguing in that. My most powerful learning moment, again, going back to note cards and just the whole pre-writing process. I've never focused that hard on a pre-writing process, and I've realized that it was so helpful and helped me get my information very clear and organized. Lastly, how I'll use this in the future is I already have been using this in one of my other classes for a research report, the same pre-writing process. I learned a lot of really good research skills in general, and this is helping me to expand how I research in the future. And here's my work cited. I hope that you guys enjoyed my presentation and learned some stuff about human trafficking.